Hello, the Pioneer viewers. The Russia-Ukraine war remains on our agenda. The war process, which is closely followed by the whole world, is about to complete its second year. The sides continues their mutual attacks. Recent developments are shaping the course of the war. Critical interventions in times of the war are actually a method that seems simple but provides effective results. The phenomenon of the war constitutes another dimension of competition in the interstate struggle. For this reason, when the states go to war, they don't only use their soldiers but also use all their resources. This is where the psychological dimension of the war comes into play. A military unit that loses its resources naturally loses morale. When we consider that the loss of the morale affects the entire army, it will not be difficult to predict the losing side of the war. The psychological dimension of the war must be managed very well. The people and soldiers affected by the war must be managed in the planned manner, so that at the end of the day, the rise of social opposition can be prevented. When we have reported on many clashes following Russia's full-scale intervention of Ukraine, news from the war zone shows that the clashes have increased in recent days. Russia's invasion attempt, which is described as a special military operation, is unable to withstand the effects of the Ukrainian defense. The Ukrainian army does not let the Russian soldiers and invaders pass with the strong defense network. The operation of the Ukrainian army are trying to push the Russian troops out of the border. In Russia, on the other hand, there is a growing group of the people who accept defeat and think that the war is unnecessary. A significant part of Russian population thinks that the war is Putin's war. The Kremlin administration is seen as responsible for the economic and social problems caused by the war. In recent statements, it was seen that Russia is getting closer to accepting defeat. In addition, a fighter jet belonging to the Russian army was shot down in an operation organized by the Ukrainian army. Now, if you are ready, let's examine the latest developments together. As the Pioneer, we continue to report on Russia-Ukraine war. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so that you don't miss our daily map reports and reports on the agenda. I also read all your comments on our videos. Please continue to share your ideas about our content in the comments with us. Tell us in the comments what content you would like to see on the Pioneer channel. Let's start if you are ready, the Pioneer reports. According to the statements released by the Ukrainian army the other day, the Ukrainian army shut down a Russian plane. In a war that has been going on for nearly 2 years, Russia's Air Force has been dealt a heavy blow. The latest attacks, a supersonic fighter bomber of the Russian Air Force was destroyed by the Ukrainian army. Ukraine has destroyed Russian Su-34 fighter jets in eastern Luhansk region of Ukraine. The General Staff of the Ukrainian Armed Forces said in an operational update in the early morning hours of the previous day. The Ukrainian military said the jet had been shut down the previous day and that the information was made public after necessary investigations. Kiev officials said that the statement that the Russian Air Force has lost a total of 332 aircraft in the war, which is approaching the second year. The Ukrainian army's attacks on the Russian Air Force have dealt a major blow. As the Russian army depletes its resources, it has difficulty replenishing stocks. The war losses, which cost millions of dollars, creates a great difficulties for the Russian economy. The Ukrainian Defense Ministry shared the news of the attacks with the caption, "Great job, fighters." In a statement congratulating the Ukrainian army, it was stated that the operation will continue and lead decisively. In the war in Ukraine continues as a heavy cost for both Moscow and Kiev's Air Force, Russia's Air Force appears to be more numerous. But Ukraine will gain a major advantage with the introduction of the Western-made F-16 fighter jets. Russia's Su-34 modern supersonic fighter bombers used by Russia to attack Ukrainian positions have been repeatedly targeted by the Ukrainian military. Earlier this month, Ukraine's military intelligence agency said a Russian Su-34 had been destroyed at the airbase near Chelyabinsk, in the city west-central Russia. In later December, Ukraine said it shut down 3 Su-34s in a single day over the country's southern Kherson region. It was also reported that the Russian Su-30 and Su-34 were destroyed by the Ukrainian military on Christmas Eve. The losses suffered by the Russian troops in the ongoing war in Ukraine are causing concerns in Russia. The extent of Russia's losses and the prolonged duration of the war raises some questions. Due to Russia's aggressive behavior, the international public opinion has also been very reactive. At this point, dissenting voices have started to emerge from within Russia. Initially, no one voiced the possibility of Russia's losing the war. Recently, however, this possibility has started to be discussed even in Russia. During a recent broadcast, Russia's television experts admitted that Russia could lose the war in Ukraine. In a discussion hosted by Kremlin propagandist Vladimir Solovyov, he stated that Moscow faces an uncertain future in Ukraine. According to the video shared by Julia Davis, founder of Russian Media Monitor, Yevgeny Buzhinsky, a retired Russian lieutenant general, warned Russia that could simply lose the war if Putin's government increases weapons production and spends more on defense contracts during the ongoing conflict. Solovyov disputed Buzhinsky's assessment, sustaining that Russia could not lose. Andrei Sidorov, Dean of Politics, Ward of Moscow's State University, argued that Russia's concept of invincibility does not work, before later resorting the analogy of the boiled frog. The thesis that Russia cannot lose, judging by the events of 20th century, does not exactly work. Deserov said, in concluding that both in Russian Empire and the Soviet Union lost. The rising dissenting voices in Russia can actually be considered as an indication of the bad state of affairs. In the current situation in Russia, opposition movements are suppressed. However, when the desired results from the war do not come, it becomes difficult to appease the public reaction. Unable to resist reactions of people, Moscow is following the developments from afar. The Ukrainian army is expected to take serious steps towards the war processes in the coming days. Ukrainian pilots who continue their training alongside military support packages will be a great power for the Ukrainian army. The F-16 fighter jets, which were expected to enter the inventory which the military support packages, will be a great power acceleration in the against attacks the Russian army. According to the news coming from the front line, the loss of motivation of the Russian troops seems to have increased recently. With the prolongation of the war, Russian logistics are also problematic, which has worn out the soldiers. The Ukrainian army, on the other hand, continues to protect its country in both offensive and defensive positions. What do you think about the Russian plane shut down by the Ukrainian army? What do you think about the losses of the Russian Air Force? Do you think that the Ukrainian army is able to make successful and critical moves during the war? How do you interpret Buzhinsky's assessments? Do you think Russia is losing? We care about your opinion. Please share it with us.